And like how I kept bringing up that you were fighting like all these times within a year, fighting all these, named guys within, a certain amount of time. In 2005, you fought once. In 2006, you fought once. In 2007, you fought once, or I'm sorry, twice.
Wow.
And then in 2008, once. 2009, again, once. I mean, you went from,
Yeah.
how, you were fighting very often to just once a year pretty much. How did you know it was time for you to hang up the glove?
Well, it was very unfortunate talking about the fighting. That had nothing to do with me. It was who I was with at the time. Everybody know who I was with, who was promoting my career. So that was like a horrible time. You can't fight once a year and stay sharp. Nobody does that. I mean, you don't stay sharp. And when it was time for me, I mean, I'm going through these years and I'm getting up there in age. For me, a reflex guy. I love my reflexes. I was blessed with it. I can make you miss. I like to make you think because I can counter you in certain ways. And after I fought my last fight in Germany, a lot of promoters were like, after that Sean George fight especially, they're like, we love you too much. You're one of the nicest guys. We love you too much to, put you on our card, and it was time. I think I was 38 years old. So, it was time for me to really hang it up. I mean, I'm still in great shape right now, and I still felt I was sharp, but, to not get hurt and be a stepping stone for these young guys, why continue boxing? It's over. I accomplished more than I expected because, I thought I would be middleweight, super middleweight, light heavyweight champion. That's what I thought. I never thought I'd be a heavyweight champion, and 2 times. So, it was a blessing. It was a fun ride. The Lord blessed me big time, but time to hang it up.
And when you brought up right now that, you know who I was with, and actually I was a question I was going to ask down the line, and, out of respect for you, it doesn't sound like you want to talk about, that. But if it wasn't for that, you think your career would have ended in, a better way or in a much nicer note?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I laugh about that. I mean, definitely. It would have been more fights, more major fights. We would have made matches. Because I'm a guy, I want to fight everybody. I want to fight. If they say he's the best, that's who I want to go with. I went to Germany and fought these guys. I went to Germany to fight Povetkin. He's a young stud, Olympic gold medalist, super heavyweight, and, I go over there and fight. I'm 37, 38 years old. I go fight. And my thought is, I'm winning. I'm not going to just go there to lose. I train to win. I go fight the Klitschko. I go to Germany, take up the challenge, 8 days notice. I fight Ike, when really nobody else want to fight. I want to fight the best guys. So during my championship, after I beat Evander, I'm thinking, I want to fight everybody. Now it's time that I got a belt. You got to fight me. I want to fight all the guys that I want to fight. Not taking nothing away from nobody I fought during my run as champion.
Looking back at your career and all these guys that we talked about, I mean, I just kept throwing all these names. It seems like I was never going to stop. All these top guys that you fought, did you meet all the goals that you had going into your professional career?
Well, goals-wise, I think I accomplished more than I really ever thought I could because of heavyweight. Now, if we were talking about from middleweight to light heavyweight, and if I wouldn't have won a title, or if I would have won just one out of 3 weight classes, or even from middleweight to cruiserweight, or even middleweight to heavyweight, then if I just won one, then I would have been disappointed. But to be in the mix of the heavyweight, me, as you mentioned in my name, and people like that skinny middleweight that fought the Olympics, and a very small heavyweight that's fighting all these big guys.
So if I would have put it at you at the Olympics and would have said, this guy is going to be the world champion, the world heavyweight champion one day, they would have probably thought I was nuts, right?
But everybody would laugh. Everybody in the crowd would have laughed. But people don't realize, it would literally, majority of my fights would be like Floyd Mayweather fighting Chad Dawson or Bernard Hopkins every time he get in the ring. Every time. And now, like Michael Katz, the boxing writer, wrote a story on me when I was boxing. It's like walking on a tightrope every time I get in the ring. Because I got to get these guys 10-1, and that one big one, I'm going to sleep. So I'm walking on a tightrope. Can I get across? Then it got to the point where my skill set was really good. People just were like, okay, you got used to it. Well, you're going to beat them anyway. You can't. With heavyweight, you can't never say, because that one punch factor is always there. It's hard to try to outmaneuver a guy for 10 or 12 rounds and win a fight. That's not. They just took it as it was just so easy now. Like, dude, I got to do all this. I got to do all this work for 10 or 12 rounds.
And you were that one guy, man, that if you were there to bet against you your whole career, I mean, I think I would be. What would you say, like, looking back or, throughout your career, what were your biggest strengths, man? I mean, overcoming all these big guys and stuff, you would figure, someone after maybe the first big fight that you might have won would have said, all right, maybe he got lucky, but then you win another one, they're like, okay, well, maybe he got lucky again. But then as you start winning all these fights, I mean, you can only be so lucky. What were your biggest strengths? How was it that you were winning, all these big fights?
It was three things. It was, one, I prided myself in my conditioning. I felt no heavyweight trained harder than me. I just felt like that. And matter of fact, I felt no boxer trained harder than me. I trained like a madman and conditioned my body so much and my mind to, the punishment going to come. Guys hit me to the body. Just don't get hit with the big one. And, I pride myself in that. I pride myself in my skill set as far as all my skills and shut these guys down. Because once you get in front of me, my mind really like a computer, and it's just reading everything you're doing. I mean, everything came alive so much to me. And I just study you while I'm boxing. I study all your bad habits. If you do the same jab, and I know the right hand gonna come, and then the hook is coming. It just came, and I just read you so much. I mean, it was crazy. And my heart, I no fear, none. I didn't fear anybody. I didn't care. Ike was 244. I was like, okay, that's great. Yeah, I didn't care if Jamil was 270. Oh well. When Vladimir Klitschko went up on the second time, I went down and I got up. I went down the first time. I'm like, okay, it's time to get up. Vladimir Klitschko. The second time he knocked me down, I got up and it was a big cut. They stopped the fight. I'm arguing with the ref, why you stopping the fight? Hey, I'm ready to fight. When Ike hit me, I fell on my face, but I got up. It's time to fight. And one thing people say, oh man, he wasn't a big puncher. Sometimes he ran, he did whatever. But I would fight anybody. I would fight, and I called them all out. Like I said, I was a Tyson fan. I wanted to fight Mike many times. I just wanted to fight Mike. I just wanted to get in the ring. I wanted to taste that power. I went, and I'm fighting the great Mike Tyson. Can I avoid him? Can I walk on that tightrope for 12 rounds with Mike Tyson? Because I'm not scared of him. I'm not scared of anybody. Through history, I looked at every heavyweight through history, and I'm like, I would have challenged every one of them. And, of course, I'm a competition guy. Nobody's going to whoop me. And that's how I feel. They wouldn't have beat me. When people say, oh, man, such and such would have killed you, I'm like, he wouldn't have beat me. He may have beat other guys, but I feel that I could have challenged and whooped everybody.
And, probably the question that people ask you on a daily basis, who was your toughest opponent? Who was the hardest puncher also?
Hardest puncher, honestly, Eric, it's across the board. I could name a lot of guys. I could say Ike or Vladimir Klitschko, but Jamil McClyde hit so hard. Evander hit hard.
And who was your toughest opponent? Who was the guy that was hardest? Who was that chess match player that was hard for you to defeat or come through?
Honestly, my hardest one was Vladimir Klitschko. I think his brother told him a lot about me from us fight because, man, he is such a hard matchup for me. Be 6'7" and just know how to use his height and reach. That's why he's still champion now, and he just got it. He settled his style down. It's a hard matchup. For me personally, being a little over, 6 foot and small, use his height and his size and all of his advantages, to his advantage, which is smart. That's what you're supposed to do. And he did it every time I fought. I mean, it was just a hard matchup. You know, he's very powerful too. So Vladimir Klitschko is definitely the hardest matchup I've come across.
And talking about these guys, knowing that they're still on top of the game, I mean, they're still the world champions. Does that still give you the flair to, like, say, man, maybe I could still do that, or wish you were still in the game somehow?
Every day, you know, I think about it. But for me, if I was, you know, 6'4", 240 pounds, of course, it's easy. But one thing that's hard for me was training camp, because the sparring, I would have 3 guys in camp. And some training camps, I weighed under 200 pounds. And I was sparring with 3 different guys in training camp. So it's the wear and tear of training camp. I can't make it. Too small. I would have to come back at light heavyweight. Not even cruiserweight, light heavy, because I walk around at 190 pounds right now. So it gives me a lot of joy to see these guys knowing that, I fought the 2 best heavyweights in the world right now. And match up through history, if you match up history with, as far as peak for peak champion, maybe the 2 best heavyweights ever. Hard matchup for any heavyweight in any era. So, you know, I went against some great guys, and they still dominating. Like I told both of them, they'll probably be champion till they're 50 if they want to.
That's true. Now that you're not boxing, Chris, and you know you're away from that, you're still in the sport somehow. Obviously, you got this great idea of having your own show, the Bird's Eye View.
Yeah.
How did that come about for you to actually be on the other side of the mic? You know, before people were always interviewing you. What is it like now, interviewing people in the game that you love so much?
Oh man, it's like the biggest thrill. It's the biggest thrill. My thought of the Bird's Eye View was, how do somebody else do what they do? How did they get there? Where did they start? I want the fans to know this guy just didn't pop on the scene. So, you know, he just popped on the scene. Where did he come from? What was his background? Did he fight amateur? Did he accomplish things in amateur? How was his pro? How was the start of his pro life? Because I know how I was. I started off in basically in a nightclub as a professional, a nightclub, to get to the highest level of the sport. So I wanted not only for myself, but people to know about dive into somebody else's life and career of how they did things and how they go for them. Everything wasn't smooth for me. Was it smooth for somebody else? You know, and for me personally, being a huge fan of boxing, I can sit down and talk to these guys and really not only relate, but to look at their situation or how it went for them and go, wow. Are you serious? You went through this, or you did that, and really relate to them in such a way that only I could really understand, or any other boxer on that level. So, but I wanted it more for boxing fans.
What's awesome is when you really think about it, man. I mean, if you watch any HBO, Showtime, you know, they're big networks with these big shows that they put on, and for years they've been bringing on somebody like George Foreman or Sugar Ray Leonard, or you know guys like Paulo Malignaggi, or these fighters, or Roy Jones Jr., who know the sport, and they have to bring as part of the team. They have the guy with the voice, like let's say Jim Lampley. Then they have the journalist type person, like let's say Larry Merchant, and then they have the guy that knows about boxing, like let's say Roy Jones Jr. And it works, because the boxer has to be there to give their insight of what they would probably do, or what they would think, or what it's like to be in the ring, and you need that. So in a way, we need people like you to give us that insight. Me, myself, I've never been in the ring. So, I wouldn't know, what you saw, in your career, your life, and to, when a boxer, is interviewing with you, he knows not to BS you because you've been there and done that. And I'm sure you see that a lot while you're doing the interviews.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I know everything. And see, the one thing about boxing, it's funny when certain things go on. I mean, you have opportunities to take a fight, and I heard one of the reporters, dismiss a boxer's injury. Okay, some fighters, they fight, we call them minor injuries. A scrape here or something that You know, you can cancel a fight over it, just that kind of injury. But then you have an injury where it's major. But some guys dismiss it like commentators dismiss it like it ain't nothing. And see, I know personally when a guy have a major injury, but it's the opportunity. You can't pass up this opportunity because you may never get it again. But don't just dismiss him. You know, really kind of listen to the guy. And if he lost, okay, you lose. But you know, sometimes because people say, well, you should have took the fight, but it's the opportunity. You know, so when a guy do bring it up, a lot of guys don't bring it up. I mean, I could get so much stuff out of guys, boxers, you know, and a lot of it is off the record. They're like, no, don't even put it on it because they gonna believe me no way. So that's a blessing because I thought it was just me with all these injuries I had before I get in the ring that, you know, if I said something, now I'm making an excuse. But it's not. You know, boxing is a hurt sport, and not only in the major fight or in the fight itself, it's in training. That's where you get most of your injuries. But then you see them bring them injuries to the ring because of the opportunity, and then they lose because of it. Then they're like, man. And then if you bring it up, and then a reporter say, well, you shouldn't have fought. Well, you know, it was a boxer I talked to. He said, well, I give you 5 million reasons why I did take the fight. Because if I wouldn't have took the fight, I wouldn't have got paid like this, and this opportunity wouldn't have came back around for me again. So I got to take the fight. You know, so he'll tell me something that he won't tell nobody else, which is cool. But at the same time, you know, I'm thinking, man, you can't come up with no excuse. And we can't. And sometimes the guys that never fought don't really understand, hey, there's an opportunity there. I know I shouldn't have fought, but it's there. And I'm fighting with this injury, you know, which is killing me. But I got to fight.
So who are some of the guys that you've had on? I mean, I've seen several of your shows, but you know, for people maybe paying attention that never see your show, bring up some of the guys that you've had on that you might have, you know.
Oh man, I had Shane Mosley, Chad Dawson, Manny Pacquiao, Andre Durrell, older fighters like Wayne McCullough, Kevin Kelly, coaches like Floyd Mayweather Sr., and he was a fighter also, and Eddie Mustafa Muhammad, former, you know, light heavyweight champion, and, you know, great coach now, Freddie Roach, former fighter, and great coach now, and, you know, and a lot of others. So the show is you know, it's pretty good. Just get to talk to these guys that understand. You know, one thing about, like, a Freddie Roach, for instance, everybody talked to Freddie Roach about coaching, but they forget he was a fighter. Not only a fighter, but he was the alternate for the Olympics, just like Eddie Mustafa Muhammad. They light up when somebody talk about their career. You know, I didn't want to talk about Manny. I wanted to talk about Freddie when I talked to him. And he's like, wow, he's talking to me about my career, what I did. Because every boxer, even though you're a great coach now, still the foundation was I box. And that's what, you know, the training guys is good, but the boxing is like, oh, that's where it was. It was my time to do my thing. I had Robert Garcia, you know, he's trainer of the year twice. And I think people started to forget he was a world champion and a great amateur. We fought on an international trip together, U.S. versus Germany, in 1992. We were the same team. And we started talking about our amateur career, man. We just laughed and, you know, and talk about the fun times and then turning pro and getting to certain levels, you know, and being a world champion. You know, that's what I did. I may be a great coach now, but the foundation is boxing. We boxed. We did it. You know, it was fun.
And Robert, I'm from Oxnard. You know, I've lived in Oxnard and lived here all my life. And I've seen your show. I've seen your show with him, and you know, you brought the cameras and stuff here to Oxnard, and you know, set up and interviewed him. And you know, something that I did notice, and I did want to, you know, bring up, you know, about your show there, is that you see them kind of light up. because they know you're not just another guy sticking a microphone in their face. They know that you can relate to them in every way, like you're speaking, and they know there's something there. They can't BS you. They know that they can talk to you like you're one of the guys, and you're one of the guys in the locker room, and I can see them light up with you all the time, and of course what you're saying and what you're talking about while you're saying it, and I think that's a big difference from what I see on your show.
Yeah, I mean it is. We do relate a lot, and I'm not only just a boxer and a guy that's coming through. I'm a former champion. And a fan also. I'm a fan, not only of the sport, but I'm a fan of your certain guys. I just love boxing them.
Hey, following up on what you just said, man, let me ask you a question. Female fighting, man. There's so many great female fighters out there. We saw what happened in the Olympics, just last year. They're the ones that brought the medals home. And for some reason, it just doesn't break through mainstream, man. And like Ava Knight is a great female fighter. She's been fighting often in Mexico because here in the United States, she doesn't get those big fights, man. And she's been doing a great job. You brought up earlier how your sister was a fighter, but it wasn't big back then. Female fighters, what do you think of them? What do you think of female boxing just overall, in general?
Overall, I think I support my sister. She did her thing. She won a world title, and they work just as hard. Go do it's boxing. Matter of fact, I'm going to interview some female fighters when I go to Vegas next week. And it's great for the sport that it had 5 weight classes in the last Olympics, and they got to experience the same thing that the guys did: go to the Olympics, fight, and represent their country, and box and win medals, and get to high levels of the sport. Not only professional, because it was only professional for women, now amateur. But I think with the women's sport, when Christy Martin and Lucille Riker didn't fight, it kind of hurt the sport big time. And the sport crashed big time. Layla Ali put it out there some, but she never had that big. She just had the name, and she had the look, she had the name, but she didn't have that big major breakthrough fight to where it just went mainstream for everybody.
And Ann Wolf too, man. Ann Wolf was a great fighter. She just didn't get that push either, like you're talking about.
Well, that would have been the fight with Layla Ali. Would have been Ann Wolf. That would have been that major fight they could have made. Would have been mainstream for women boxing. And then with Christy Martin and Lucille Riker, I mean, that was with Christy Martin was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Women boxing exploded at that time, and then it started fading out because of the matchup. Because my sister I fought on USA Tuesday Night Fights 11 times, and when my sister fought main event, she had her own. It was a women's card. She was main event on USA Tuesday Night Fights, so it was gaining some momentum with the women boxing. It was going, and then it's matchup. It's just like the heavyweight division now in America. Matchup. Guys gotta fight. You gotta fight each other. Let's bring this back.
Man, I miss those Tuesday night fights, man. And in a way, you're right. I mean, Lucia Riker, when she was supposed to fight Chrissy Martin, that was pretty much like Pacquiao Mayweather today.
Yeah, it was huge. They were reported that $1 million purse for a women's bout in the 90s. For a women's bout. That's how big the fight was. And probably would have made more than that if they would have fought each other. But, contract stuff and debate over, certain stuff, they'll make the match. My thing is, make the match. Let's fight. Fight. It's huge.
I don't know if you remember seeing that video where they were at some press conference or some meeting or something, and they almost got down right there at that conference. I mean, that would have been hype for the fight, too.
Hype for the fight. Now, let's go back, negotiate. Whatever's going to take, let's make the match. So, not only for themselves, but they would have been major pioneers for the sport. Major. It would have took it to a whole nother level. It would have been pay-per-view, great. It could have been an all-women's card with the main matchup. But imagine having that fight and the Ann Wolf and Layla Ali double hitter on the same card. Oh my goodness.
Man, that would have just elevated women's boxing. It would have still, you know, it would have took it to that next level, you know, easily.
Yeah, because it's a lot of interest in it. It's there. I mean, I'm an Olympic junkie. I don't miss a fight in the Olympics. Not one. I don't miss not 1 second of Olympic boxing at this show. And now you got 5 weight classes. Now the interest is there again, because they wouldn't have had it in the Olympics. They wouldn't have added it if there wasn't a lot of interest in the sport. So, and it's not only the interest in America, it's the interest around the world. But that means there's a lot more women boxers around the world that can make, you know, great matches. So let's hit mainstream. Let's hit it. But it's at the same time, as the girls get built up, you got to make the matches. Got to make the matches. Got to constantly make matches to make them big. So it's like in America with the heavyweights. Like I said, time for you guys to start fighting. Time for all the guys around the world to start fighting. Let's make matchups. That's how I always feel.
And that's true. And we talked about your show there, Chris, and where can we watch it? I mean, I know I watch it through your links that you guys post online and stuff like that, but where can, you know, everybody else watch it? Do you have your own website where you post them? Do you, you know, is it televised nationally, or, you know, where can we watch it?
You can watch it chrisbyrd.com, BYRD, you know, CHRIS, BYRD.com, or on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is great. Social media is great. You find it, the bird's eye view. I mean, you can watch it there, and then you can go back and watch all the shows. I mean, if you really are a true boxing fan, or not a boxing fan, if you just like interview style and want to know about, you know, somebody's life and what they went through and how they reach high levels, watch the bird's eye view. You'll see. You from Oxnard, right?
Yeah, lived here, you know, born and raised, lived here all my life, yes.
Great. I'm going to talk to Fernando Vargas this week. Huge fan of Vargas. I mean, we're back and forth fans, and you know, he has certain things that's coming out. They got a reality show coming out.
And was in the following Olympic team, you know, after your Olympic team, you know, he was in the 96. He was in the 96 Olympics.
Yeah, 147, and because of computer scoring, would have won a medal. One of the best in the world at the time, amateur, and, you know, computer scoring, you know, robs you out of Olympics.
Along with Tarver and Mayweather, of course, and they're on top of the world, too. And,
yeah. I had Mikey Garcia. He lives in Riverside, I think, but he's...
Yes, love that guy. He's a guest that I've had on the most than anybody else, man. Mikey Garcia is the man, and he has a great fight coming up, actually, with Juan Lopez in Texas coming up, so that'll be a good one, too.
Good one, and I had him on recently, and man, such a nice kid. Such a good fighter, too. Oh, my goodness.
And you look at him, and he seems like such a quiet guy. He looks like the little quiet guy on the side, but you talk to him, and he has all the confidence in the world. He knows exactly what he's saying, and in the ring, you know, he knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh, yeah. Yes, he do. And to be young, 26, and to have that kind of skill set and poise and confidence, I mean, that's just, you know, that's just a blessing. I look at that, I'm like, wow, 26, and he's ready to... He wanted to be a 2-division champion and hold both belts and defend them at the same time. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. He said he could make 126 and 130, be champion at both weight classes, and defend them at the same time.
And Chris, we've talked about these people from the past, you know, like, you know, before, like when you were growing up. We talked about people during your era. We're talking about people now. What are your complaints of the sport at the moment, seeing all the politics stuff that's going on with all the different networks and all the different promoters, and, you know, how that might keep us from watching some of the great fights that we might speak of, or, you know, guests that you might have, you know, might be, you know, pulled back from fighting these big fights for this reason. What complaints do you have? What do you see going on in boxing? In your opinion, how is that different from, you know, your era or the era before you?
Man, I think the same thing has been going on. I mean, it's always disputes between promoters and boxers. We call it having beef, you know, talks, you know, negative talks between and making matchup. You know, the big thing is, you know, for me, you live once. months, and your boxing career for the boxer is only, it's a snap of the finger. That's how fast your career is. Get the most out of it. If you can make promoters don't stop guys from making fights and making the most of their career. Don't stall them out. Stuff like that. That's always bothered me with boxing when you have two promoters get into it, and I'm not going to work with him. And now you knowing you have the fighter, and he has a fighter that can make a great fight. Let them in their career handle their business, and you guys handle your business and sell your business outside of the making matches and stuff like that. And now for me, being a former heavyweight champion, these guys not fighting. Oh, it's talent out there. In America, it's heavyweights, but make the match. I mean, guys fight. There's a lot of heavyweights in England that are really good. Make matches. Heavyweights everywhere. Holding on to that zero. Just, make matches. Because the career go by so fast and you miss out on opportunities.
Man, if you fought Ike Abiabuchi, if you fought Evander Holyfield, if you fought David Tua, trust me, I think, there's no doubt by your track record from what you've left behind in the sport, I have no doubt that you would fight Mike Tyson.
I mean, just fight them or fighting Lennox Lewis.
I forgot to bring up the Klitschko brothers too.
I didn't want to leave my career not fighting guys. If I have an opportunity to fight them and they want to fight me, I'm fighting them. I mean, now, because you look back on your career, you can fight many great guys, but then it's kind of like an asterisk next to your name in a way, because he fought these great guys, but he didn't fight him. Or he chose not to fight him, and him. So I'm like, at the end of the day, sometimes it's like, okay, let's make this match. I don't care. I don't care about whatever. Let's make the match. That's how I am. So, I can't speak for anybody else. Everybody got their reasons for why they're not doing it. But like for me, I didn't care. I heard rumors of guys that were doing some stuff illegal, and I'm like, hey, let's make the match. So, but everybody's different.
And so much research has been done, Chris, like of all the, done on boxers or any athletes in their respective sports on injuries after their career's over and stuff like that, whether it be, injuries, minor injuries or head injuries or whatever it might be, especially in a sport like boxing, how you endure so much physical and mental pain. Do you feel any of those, any symptoms of anything or any pains and aches that you might feel that might have resulted because of all your years in boxing?
Yeah, a lot. No, I have nerve damage in my foot, and it burns like all the time. Burn, tingle, irritation, and probably a result of boxing. I've been to Mayo Clinic, 5 neurologists, doctors, everything. Nobody knows what it is, and it's sand. My brain, everything comes out really good. My nerves from my brain, but it probably is a result of boxing. I had a lot of fights. Stuff happens. You get hit in the head.
And through all these fights and all your career and everything that you went through, is there anything that you would change where you say you would look back and say, man, I wish I could have done this better, or I wish I could have fought this guy, or maybe I should have fought this guy that I did fight? Is there any change that you would make, where you would have been more satisfied?
Well, only change is, honestly, fighting that light heavyweight. Really. But outside of that, totally fine. I was blessed. I fought some fights with some major injuries. I mean, major. And I did it. I did it. I had the injuries. I shouldn't have fought, but, it is what it is. I can't cry over it. I have no regrets about it. Like, whatever. But just light heavyweight. When I went down light heavyweight, I did it wrong. I wish I would have, if I would have did it the right way, if I would have got a trainer to really condition my body right to get it down. Because I'm really a light heavyweight. Because I walk around small right now. I'm very small. But that's the only really regret. But outside of that, hey, injuries come, injuries go. It's a hurt sport, and most of the injuries a boxer get is in training, sparring. You get a lot of injury sparring, a lot. Then you got to go into your fight. So sometimes when a fighter get injuries from the fight, they're damaged goods before they even go into the ring. So, just part of the sport. I mean, I'm blessed. I have no regrets.
And even though you're going to be around for another 100 years, Chris, I mean, how does Chris Byrd want to be remembered? To whether it be what I call the 3 big F's: your family, your friends, your fans. How do you want Chris Byrd to be remembered?
One, as far as boxing goes, that I was willing to face anybody that ever came across. Any great fighter, I never turned the fight down. I will fight anybody. And, two, being, born-again Christian, just hopefully I came across to people as, a godly man to the point where not arrogant, just a normal guy, but a guy that had a passion for the sport and loved people. That's, I really want to be remembered, as an ambassador of the sport that loved it, that cherished it, that, just was that type of guy. And that's the way I live my life. I mean, that's who I am. I never thought I was, high and mighty or ever got big-headed. I try to sign every autograph, take pictures with everybody, just be that type of person. That's how, that's how I was raised, and especially in boxing. So, hope people got that out of me. I know I don't have, people. I hated Chris Byrd, the way I box. But as a human being, if you knew me or if you met me, hopefully I treated you with the kind of respect that you would want to be respected, treated with. So.
And it's funny you bring that up, Chris, because when I first started this, it was just a thought, and I said, let me see what happens if I try to reach out to people and try to see what they would think if I started a website and bring them on. I reached out to about 3 or 4 people, and you actually called me back. This was about 1.5 years ago, and you said, yeah, I would come on, and it was just a thought at that time. Through you calling me back and you saying, that you would come on, it motivated me to keep going forward, to actually open up the website, to actually, doing it and going forward with an idea that was just a thought, And from that, 1.5 years later, almost 60 interviews later, I finally get you on to finally, tell your story. And I thank you very much for that. And that's how I think of Chris Byrd, along with that little nickname of the little train that could, but, that's what Chris Byrd means to me. And everybody might have their way of thinking of you or what they might think of you, but that's how I think of Chris Byrd every time I talk to you. Chris, I thank you very much for coming on to theboxingbar.com. This is like a pleasure and an honor to finally get you on. And again, man, this is mi casa, tu casa, and I hope to have you on soon down the line, amigo.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I always love talking boxing. This is great. Thanks a lot.